Yeah, we're recording.
Okay, so are you recording now? Yeah. So do I read the statement, Becky? Sorry.
Yes, please.
So is the statement at the top of the agenda?
No, I sent it to you separately.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I do beg pardon. Bear with me. Right, just bear with me. If I put it under your folder or town development and planning. All right, here we are. Sorry, right. Right, thank you for bearing with me, everybody. I'm just going to read out the statement that we now read before our meetings because they're now being recorded and will be posted on YouTube after the meeting. So bear with me while it opens. So thank you for joining our online Town Development and Planning Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday the 30th of March and it is 7:01 p.m. Please bear with us if we should have any technical issues. These will be dealt with if they arise. Please be aware that this meeting is being recorded. All attendees have been automatically muted until asked to speak. Normal protocol is to raise your hand either physically or via the virtual hand should you have any questions. Members of the public have their right to speak at the public question time, which we start off with in a moment. We encourage all participants to be respectful of others' opinions and views and be aware of what you say and the impact on others. If we go into a confidential session for the press, the public, or any councillor who is not a committee member will be invited to leave, but we don't plan on doing that in this agenda today. So thank you for bearing with me. So just a reminder that we are being recorded. So if we go into public question time first, do we have any members of the public who wish to speak? We have two members of the public present, Ashley and Robin.
Ashley wishes to speak.
Ashley, thank you. Please go ahead.
Wonderful, thank you. I wanted to speak just for a short period of time just on my objection to the planning application for the River Valley House plot on Pike Hill, planning reference 2021-0342 OTA. All of the comments and the stakeholders that have objected to this property previously on the application that's now been withdrawn are equally valid to the one I'd like to make on the current application. The only real change to the current application is that now it's going to be on the access point is going to be on Pike Hill rather than on the footpath or near the footpath by the River Sheppey. My main objection to, or my key objections to this development have been brought up not only by myself but by several neighbours and other members of the public, specifically relating to the overbearing nature of the development, entirely out of keeping with the kind of rural setting that we're in, not fitting with any of the other mill types currently within the town itself, and it will also cause a lot of light loss to its neighbouring land. I also believe it'd actually be quite an eyesore from the River Sheppey where that footpath walks, and it's a very important piece of amenity land that lots of people are using, especially during the current climate. I was also concerned about the missing structural engineers report providing evidence that the newly constructed retaining wall was going to be able to withstand the presence of such a large building on such an old wall. And I was also concerned by the inadequate flood risk assessment that although the building is relatively high off the ground, it doesn't actually state anywhere about the damage it could cause to the river itself, as well as being such a hard piece of landscape, which means that lots of the road water runoff and lots of the runoff from the site itself will go straight into the River Sheppey and possibly cause more overflowing into an ecologically important river. The dangers of having the access point up on Pike Hill as well is a concern, specifically because with all of that building work happening on such a thin, fast, well, it's not that fast, but people do drive a lot faster than they ought to down there. And on such a wide bend, which you can't see very easily around, with large machinery coming in and out, it could be considered quite dangerous, but also having more cars using that access point. If they're building a 3-bedroom house, there'll be a lot more cars, possibly up to 3 extra ones that'll have to constantly come in and out. My last concern is that the ecological report, although it was very good and I really enjoyed reading it and I was glad that it was done, there was no indications on the plan itself that it was going to follow any of the key points that were being addressed within that plan, such as providing a home for birds, creating hedgehog paths, or adding additional vegetation that will hopefully be restored back to the conservation level that it's in. It used to be, it used to have hedgerows, it used to have an orchard, it used to be an open grassland when it was maintained by the previous owner. but it doesn't currently look like any of that is in the plans to be restored to such a level. Although I think it'd be a lovely family home, the negatives outweigh the positives for me, having such an oversized house squeezed into such a small site, especially considering there's ample development elsewhere in Shepton, providing homes closer to the central community. Thank you for listening to my thoughts.
Thank you very much, Ashley, and we'll come on to that on the first part of the agenda. So once we've finished discussing that, do feel free to leave. It's up to you whether you stay or not, but no worries if you want to leave. And Robin, do you want to speak?
No, I'm fine, Chair. I'm just here, just observing.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move off public question time. Do we have any apologies for absence? No, well, we're all here, aren't we, I think? So thank you. Any declaration of interest of matters related to this agenda from any councillor? No? Okay, thank you. To approve the minutes of the Town Development and Planning Committee on the 9th of March, Martin, are you flagging?
Happy to approve, Chair.
To approve, yeah. Any seconder for those? Abby is seconding. Okay, should we show of hands that they approve if we approve those minutes? Thank you very much. Okay, so coming on to planning matters for consideration. So we'll start off with River Valley House 2021-0342, application for outline planning permission for all matters reserved for the erection of a 1 4-storey 3-bedroomed dwelling house. Martin, you're on mute. There we go.
Yeah, I think our speaker actually really covered all the issues. I mean, specific things are the overbearing size of the property not in keeping. I think what the flood people said was particularly appropriate, though I think we need to bear in mind if it comes back to us that it's too near the river anyway. So I think I'd like to on all these counts. I think I'd like to recommend refusal this evening.
Okay, perhaps I should also say there are 4 public comments on the portal. 1 supports, 1 neutral, 2 objects. And there are 5 consultee comments, including, I think, I will double check with the Environment Agency, I think, recommend refusal based on flooding concerns. I think well,
that's the one where they were talking about what would we need to do to get it through. If it was 8 meters back from the river, we'd consider it. But looking at that, they'd actually have to plough thoroughly into the bank to be able to excavate. I mean, I was trying to get a sense of what the difference between 4 and 8 meters would be, and there's quite a hefty bank coming down. I think that would be. I presume that the 8 meters would have it more in parallel with the other houses. I'm interested to see. I mean, there's a bit of a diversion. Is that I think the next house is connected to them, and they seem to be building an extra thing onto it anyway. I'm not aware that they've had planning permission for it.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody's noticed that.
I haven't. No, the one that's been under construction for the last sort of 5 years.
Yeah, has now got an extra bit on the side, and then that plan has not come before us. It may be not needed, but it certainly hasn't come before us. So anyway, that's just by the by. This is not what we're discussing this evening, Joe.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from any other councillor on River Valley House? Okay.
I think, Chair, if the member of the public's point could be listed for us, I think there was a very comprehensive list of why we should actually be rejecting it. So if they could be recorded, that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, Paula, are you able to, if needs be, go back over the recording and note those?
Yeah.
Thank you. So the proposal is from Martin as recommend refusal based on the points made by Ashley Horton. Do we have a seconder for that? Neil seconding. Should we have a show of hands for that if there's no counter proposal? Okay, thank you. Right, moving on to get the agenda back up. 2021-0449, group of trees. There's this Frog Lane, yeah, Frog Lane. So spruce, maple, sycamore, all to be crowned and reduced in height between 5 and 10 meters. Any comments on this?
Well, looking through the gateway, there's quite a lot of stuff there. I think works to a few trees there isn't going to make a huge amount of difference. I think I'm happy to recommend approval, Chair.
Yeah, I would second that as well. Do we have any other comments? No. Okay, should we have a show of hands on that one? Thank you. Should we use our usual wording in conjunction with the Mendip tree officer?
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. Mandatory officer recommendation. 2021-0516 tree works at Eastleigh, Forum Lane. Again, beige shrub trim.
Again, Chair, it was a case of looking in the back garden and seeing if one could, from the road, to see if one I could identify. There's all sorts of things there. I got the feeling that works to a few trees there won't come amiss. And therefore, again, I'm happy to recommend approval.
Yep.
Propose, recommend.
I would be happy to second that. Are there any other comments though from any other councillor? No, well, if Martin's proposing it, I'll second it. So should we have a show of hands on that one? Thank you very much. Right, on to a slightly controversial one because it's retrospective, or at least partly because it's under construction. 2021-0575, the garage, and removing a garage and replacing with an office and garden storage. So 2 separate buildings at 14 Southfield Road, I think it was, yeah. There is one public comment on there, which is an objection. It's an immediate neighbour saying that it's an overbearing building and that the garden, the office is higher than the garage, which it replaced.
Yeah, I mean, if you go along there, Chair, and see the line of garages along that flank of houses, certainly that does stick out. It's clearly not a garage anymore. I think I'm, and not that one should automatically reject something because it's retrospective, but I think in this particular case, I think because it's out of keeping with, and there is an objection, I think I'm happy to recommend refusal. That we propose recommending refusal.
My opinion was the main building, the high one, is really high and large, as you say, compared to the garages. The garden storage unit's quite small. If they could make the office sort of relative height to the garden storage, I'd personally be happy to recommend, but they haven't. So yeah, I would also back up. I would also second your recommendation of refusal. Any other comments from anybody else? Abby?
Yeah, just a quick one. It said it was overlooking the neighbour. Does that mean the windows are overlooking the neighbour or just the sides?
Just the size of it. The windows overlook the actual property owner's garden, but it's the height of and it is quite high.
So it's just like it's imposing, is that it, rather than overlooking? Okay.
And it's a sort of black corrugated. I don't know whether it's steel or like sort of corrugated material. It's quite, yeah, it's not desperately attractive.
Right. It's higher than any of the other garages along there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Nick?
Yeah, just quickly, as I'm just looking on Google Maps, is it the as you say, the corrugated black garage that's on the map on 14, I guess, is it?
I don't know if you can see it on Google Maps. On the portal, there's really clear photos that the person's put as part of their application, the actual building. I don't think you can see it on Google Maps because it's just gone up. So I don't think it will be on Google Maps yet.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Well, mind you, Google were driving around about a week ago, so I think it is. Yeah, I presume it's it's a black, like corrugated roof, sort of white building, I guess. So that's okay. But yeah, it's too big. It'll be too big. I think I agree with you. If it's if they put the office a little bit lower, that'll be good.
Okay.
They're not a no, but a maybe.
So Martin's got a proposal.
I mean, do we want to add that as a comment, Chair?
But is it too high or is it too large, or is it?
I certainly think it's too high because it's higher than the other garages near it. In terms of footprint, I wouldn't say personally. It's difficult to tell from the photos on the portal. It's their garden. I wouldn't. My personal.
It feels, in all fairness, wider than some of the other garages that are along there. So it is quite imposing.
So do we, Abby?
Just is it a problem with the materials being used as well? Because if it's like the black, and it feels quite imposing, I wonder if it's a question of what materials they're using, as well as its height. But yeah, whether you want to use the word it's felt that it's too imposing to its neighbours as a comment.
I'm
happy with that.
Yeah. So recommend refusal because it's the garden. Sorry, not the garden storage. The office section is too high and too imposing, given the surrounding garage buildings. Should we say that as wording? Yeah,
Yep.
so that's the proposal from Martin. I'll second it. Should we have a show of hands? Thank you. Erection of open-fronted summer house. So this is 2021-0618. Erection of an open-fronted summer house to the north side of the garden at 14 Nightingale Grove. Any comments on this one?
Chair, I looked through the gate. I don't think I could see an issue there. It's a reasonable sized garden. We know the applicant very well. He's actually sat on this committee, and he's pretty hot on the mark about some of the things that came before us. So I think he knows what he knows what he's talking about. So I'm happy to recommend approval. So.
Yeah, it's quite a substantial structure, but it's quite a substantial garden as well, and it's quite a tall house. So, and it's not really.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to see it really from anywhere. So.
Yeah. Well, if you're recommending approval, I will second that. Do we have any other comments from anyone else? No, should we have a show of hands on that one then? Thank you. And then 2021-0300, reopening of the former railway cutting. Oh, this is a change. I didn't really understand this, Paul. I don't know if you can explain. It was a change of application type. I'm not sure if there's any.
Yeah, I'm not sure what. Yeah, so I've gone on to the Town and Country Planning General Regulations, and basically my understanding is that it's because they own the land, they can. It's to give themselves or the authority to consider and determine the application because they own it.
Right, but we have recommended approval before.
Yeah, so it's literally just approving the fact that they're now going to do it under this regulation rather than.
Okay.
I'd like to recommend approval, Chair.
Yeah. Do we have a seconder for that? Neil, thank you. Do we have a show of hands? Thank you very much. Okay, in terms of planning applications decided, everything was supported that and was approved that we supported. So there were no sort of disagreements between Mendip and ourselves. And 10 Church Lane has been withdrawn. That's planning applications withdrawn. So moving on to 32.7, to receive an update from Councillor Harrison on the neighbourhood plan. Unfortunately, due to medical emergencies, I wasn't able to go to the last neighbourhood plan meeting. So I don't have an update for you, unfortunately. But I know that we're nearly there with the neighbourhood plan. I know I've been saying that for a number of weeks, but actually Robin's on the line.
Say, do you want me to do it, Chair?
Mute. Are you able to update us if that's okay? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no worries at all. No, happy to, Chair. Yeah, so we had report from the transport consultant, and his first report was formally adopted. That has now been circulated to Mendip, who were keen to see it, and I think they thoroughly approve of everything he said and the way he said it. We were certainly very impressed with him and his report. And I get the distinct impression that Mendip are now going to engage him for similar work in some other towns that need sort of similar kind of investigation, either for neighbourhood plan work or for general sort of highways work. I was concerned that if he was going to be engaged, because he's still got to do a little bit of work for us as a neighbourhood planning group, I was concerned that if Mendip were going to get him to do other bits and pieces, he might get diverted off our neighbourhood plan, which, as you say, Chair, is ever so close to going off to Mendip and then going through the sort of process of getting to referendum. I've had written confirmation from the consultant that he will if he does get any additional work from Mendip, contracted work, that he will prioritise the neighbourhood plan, so we won't be unduly disadvantaged, which I was pleased to hear. But I have to say, as a group, I think unanimously we were incredibly impressed with him and the report he produced. The second piece of work that he did for us, which he presented at the last meeting, was his list of things that couldn't appear as policies themselves within the neighbourhood planning documents. So these are more sort of aspirations and wishes that there aren't necessarily the evidence base for within what we've currently got for the neighbourhood plan, so they can't formally appear as policies in the neighbourhood plan, but they need to sort of go somewhere. So he's produced a second report detailing those, and all the members of the committee have got an action to come back by the next meeting, which are monthly, so it'll be April, to prioritise that, and it'll be a sort of vote, you know, everybody's going to put a sort of low, medium, high, those will be aggregated, and an aggregate sort of position will come forward, and then that will form a basis of the neighbourhood plan. That will be an additional report in the neighbourhood plan to deal with, you know, highways issues, but won't have formal policies, you know, that are sort of surrounding it. And then the neighbourhood plan consultants themselves have submitted a draft neighbourhood plan, which by the next meeting, everybody, you know, all the sort of stakeholders, the members of the committee have got to sort of give feedback on content, not, you know, spelling and grammar, that sort of thing, just really the content. So I would say we're getting, you know, we're getting perilously close to actually doing it. I know, probably even, you know, people before me. I mean, I've been involved for years, but people even that have been involved even longer than I have, you know. But I genuinely do think we are very, very close indeed. And obviously, the process, as I'm sure you all know, is that once, you know, it is a sort of completed document as far as the steering group is concerned, it will go off to MENDIP. They have to have a look through, then it goes to the inspector, they have a look through, and then once we've gone over those two hurdles, then there'll be a referendum, you know, and it goes to public vote, and it either gets through or it doesn't. But I have to say, you know, I think there's a very strong evidence base, you know, acquired over many, many years. Probably all of us are familiar with what's in the evidence base. We all know the issues. I don't think anybody who read it would see anything surprising in it. I can't see that anybody who knows Shepton even slightly would read it and think, crikey, you know, I don't agree with that sort of thing. So, you know, I think we're sort of quietly confident that we might we'll go through on referendum sort of thing.
And Robin,
yeah.
Just before the last meeting on email, there was a flurry of sort of concerned emails that we may have missed off the local green spaces or something. Are they all included, the local green spaces?
Yeah. So, yes, good. Yeah, well remembered, Matt. Yeah. So basically, because of what MENDIP advised all of us at that workshop, Andre Sestini sort of said that they're going to have to take them all out of the local plan. So basically, we're going to put all of the ones in Shepton in the neighbourhood plan, and then that gives them protection from the point of view of the neighbourhood plan. And obviously it remains to be seen what MENDIP do with the district, you know, the local plan. But also it's important to note as well that, you know, with this emerging change in government policy towards planning, you know, the steer they're giving at the moment, obviously this stuff is going to come in 2024, I think, isn't it? They're basically the two steers they're giving is one, they're going to give more weight to neighbourhood plans, and two, they're going to give more weight to the local populations to come up with the design codes and design guides. And obviously we've come up with a design guide that we're sort of getting to the point which will be included in the neighbourhood plan. And if the government end up strengthening the voice of the neighbourhood plan, that can only be a good thing from our point of view, because the green spaces will be in the neighbourhood plan, so they will be, you know, consequently have even more protection, which, you know, is no bad thing. So yeah, basically, but you missed at the last meeting, you know, obviously with all of us sending your best wishes to your wife, who was you know, sadly in hospital. Never a nice experience. Yeah, it was basically we all had to sort of come up with any green spaces that we knew of, and Alan and I, Mrs. Alan Marta and I, took an action point to go back through all the photos we took when we did the design guide and basically pick out any of the green spaces that got missed. So there's little bits like ones that I didn't know about, you know, but, you know, I'm sure other people did, like the one on the Nora Fry estate as you drive in on the left-hand side. So that if you drive in sort of from West Shepton, you know, by Grove House Surgery, going out on the Old World Road, you turn into the estate that way. There's a fantastic green space there on the left, and I had no idea it was there until we went around and took all the photos. And it's those kind of little bits that are on housing estates that are sort of ones that often get forgotten. And there are sort of 6 or 7 of those on Taviators as well, which will be on the list. You know, and they're not necessarily particularly substantial, but you know, they're important to the people that live usually in the immediate vicinity, but obviously also perhaps, you know, who travel from further away, you know, to appreciate them. So yeah, so there'll be a piece of work to the green spaces. I think the only other thing in a broader town council context, which was a point I made and we haven't got a resolution to yet, is because obviously Tristan was on the committee, the sort of steering group for neighbourhood plan. He has had, for personal reasons, had to step down from several of his commitments. And my suggestion was that perhaps one of the newly elected councillors, when we have the election, would like to come on the steering group if one of the existing councillors doesn't. So yeah, that would be my only sort of comment from a broader town council point of view. I think we could do with another town council rep back on the group. I don't know what you think, Matt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we traditionally had 2 councillor reps, didn't we? But we're reviewing all that, our support to all sort of other parties at the May council, the first meeting of the new council. But yeah, I agree. We should have somebody else. Yeah.
So I think that's the only thing. So the opportunity for anybody who, you know, already elected to step forward, or if one of the new ones wants to do it, then, you know, fantastic sort of thing. But yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we probably need to. And there is going to be, you know, we're right at that sort of moment where we're getting really close. So there's quite a lot of work in reading, and, you know, loads of, you know, 35 pages for the transport report had to be turn that around fairly quickly. You know, another few pages for the policy stuff. Then the draft neighbourhood plans, you know, I don't know how many pages, you know, 40, 50 sort of thing. So yeah, we're at the stage now where there's quite a bit of reading. So, you know, extra eyes is always useful.
Okay, thanks for the update, Robin, and sorry to put you on the spot there. But
no worries at all. No worries, mate.
But yeah, for everybody else's benefit, we are very, very close to getting it to the final stages, say, before we send it to Mendip for sort of ratification. Martin, did you want to speak?
Excellent news. So congratulations on you all for all your good work.
And thank you to Robin for putting an awful lot of work in as well. There's a few key, Alan and Abby and people who've been, you know, dedicated to the core, turning up to every meeting and looking through his very big report. So thank you for your support. Okay, Martin, did you want to speak again or no?
Just when we get to the press release element.
Okay, Paula, is there any other business referred to yourself?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. So to the press release, yeah, 32.9.
Well, point I've raised before, Chair, I think we need, maybe we could agree if Redrow comes back to us, what we should do about it. Really, I was wondering if we could say that as soon as we get Redrows received, that triggers from the office a plan to make the next planning meeting a full meeting, and that immediately the office can put out a press release to say that that's what will be happening, to encourage people to attend and make their views known. As I was saying, is that, I mean, it's the town clerk only who could decide this, but I was wondering if we could put in the request that is a chain of events that happens. I don't particularly want to be in the situation where we're having to, where we're approached and saying, well, is this what you want to happen? I think we could decide now that this is what we would like to happen, so that it happens, you know, whenever it at the right moment.
And we are expecting Redrow. They said March, didn't they? They said they would put a formal application in March. So Paula, I think Charlotte's already got this ready to go, hasn't she? Or asked you to get it ready to go.
So depending on when it comes in, it'll either be if it's near to one of our meetings, planning meeting, that is, then that one will be made into a full council meeting. Otherwise, if it's not, then yeah, then probably be an extraordinary meeting. So yeah, it's in.
But as we can tell from the journal, that certainly one local resident is very vocal. So we'd really want to have as many people like that joining us to make their views known.
I've been contacted by 3 local residents asking for the plans. I think they'd seen something on Facebook about, when the groundworks, when I sent the email to all councillors recently, because there were groundworks going on, or surveys on the Old Wells Road. I had 3 people contact me asking what the status was. So I simply told them what the status was, that we're expecting an application imminently. So yeah, it's a good idea. Let's do that. So well, that's on the radar, Martin. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, date and time of next meeting, 7 p.m. on 20th of April. Thank you very much for your attendance, and see everybody soon. Enjoy the few moments of sunshine we have left.
Yeah, apparently I was told it was snow next week, Matt.
Yeah, snow. Yeah, this time next week, I think. Yeah. All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.